Before I introduce our first woman of impact today, I always do say at our events at We the Women, for too long we've been well behaved. We've been taught to hold our emotion back. The one thing I would urge all of you today is to not be stingy with your applause. If you want to whistle, if you want to stand up in the aisles and dance, if you want to cheer, do cheer. So I'm going to ask you to put your hands together for my first woman of impact today. She is somebody who has navigated the film industry on her own terms. Most recently, she was quite literally the Maharani of Bollywood. But actually, our first woman of impact has been somebody who came from an entirely non-film background from my home city of Delhi. A Gargi college girl who came from a family that actually ran a very famous restaurant called Saleem's. And yet here she is, a woman of many parts, an actor, a producer, a writer, unapologetic, and always brilliant. Please put your hands together for Huma Qureshi. I want to hear more love. I do want to hear more love. Come on. There she is. And as I said, we don't have to be well behaved today. So I was just telling everybody, because everybody here is a professional achiever and they're very well behaved, and I was like, you can stop being well behaved today because
they all are here on Monday afternoon,
so they can't be very well behaved. So given that they are here on a Monday afternoon, we want to hear the cheers, we want to hear the applause, we want to hear the questions. So how about we put our hands together and show her some love. Let's start at the very beginning. You grew up in Delhi, you go to Gargi College, your family runs a restaurant chain from which I often order my kebabs. There's a Saleem's, that's the restaurant chain by the way, there's a Saleem's right behind my house. And you decide that you want to be an actor. How does that happen and how does your family respond when you tell them this?
How does that happen? Wow. Just classic rebellion, All of us had that little bit of a kida, right? Where we're like, okay, we want to do things that we're not supposed to do, not meant to do, not meant for people like us. I think I grew up like everybody else, I'm assuming, middle class. And yeah, that's my father right there. That's the Saleem restaurant. And so I think for me, although my family is extremely progressive and they always encourage us to study and go out and to figure out what we want to do, but to be a Bollywood actress was, I don't think, something even they thought was...
Do you remember what was the first thing your father, your mother said?
My father said to me कि बेटा जब मैं तुम्हारी उम्र का था ना तो मुझे भी लगता था कि मैं बम्बई भाग के दिलीप कुमार बन जाऊं. But ऐसा होता नहीं है. So he was like, everybody has this phase where एक बार जिंदगी में तो we want to become an actor, like our favorite actor, but this is not meant for people like us. And my mother couldn't believe it because she thought I was always, my nose was buried in my books and I would do something more academic with my life. So she was like, but you don't even like fashion. And I was like, yeah, I mean, maybe because I was just always in oversized t-shirts and like,
All us Delhi girls grew up wearing that.
Right? We had that look. It's that typical Delhi girl look.
Pajama, t-shirt.
Books, jhola, and then you go out and say a kurta. I had big jhumkas, lots of kajal. I think that's a classic. It's a stereotype, but yeah.
I still retain some of that.
So do I on my off days. My dirty t-shirts. So, of course, they couldn't believe it. And I think as parents, you're always scared, right? Like, for my father, although he's known in Delhi and he has a circle and all of that, for him it was like, if tomorrow my child is in trouble or needs something, I don't even know who to call. So how can I allow you to sort of do that? And of course, we had this I think I've mentioned this before somewhere that, I kind of emotionally manipulated him a little bit, where I was like, okay, Papa, if you don't want me to go, I won't go. But maybe when I'm older, I'll play like, Dadima parts or heroine ki Mossy parts or whatever, because I really want to do this. And I'll always regret that you never supported me when you had the chance. And of course, he got really teary-eyed and he said, no, you must go. And I'm giving you 1 year. Go figure this out. And if this does not happen, come back and do something with your life.
If you hadn't been a superstar, and I know that it came with struggle and we'll get to that struggle, what would Huma Qureshi have been?
A struggling superstar.
So it was always going to be acting and nothing else. Like you didn't have a second dream as a geeky person with her nose buried in books.
I think I have many interests, Barkha, and I have lots of passions. But I think somehow being an actor sort of just is like a great culmination of a lot of things. I'm naturally curious about life, about people, I read books on various subjects which have nothing to do with my current profession, just because I'm genuinely curious about the human condition. I would love to know what a journalist, what goes through your mind when you're prepping for an event like this, or when you're going to cover a war, or when you're putting yourself out there, as a woman also, or like a housewife, or a chef, or an astronaut, or whatever it could be. And I think it just helps you understand yourself better. And I mean, I know a lot has been made about acting being so tough and all of that. I think it's the best profession in the world. I get to live so many people in this one life, and I get paid for it. It's almost like, wow, like, I'm like a kid in a candy store.
You make it sound easy, Huma. And I know from conversations with you, both on and off camera, that it wasn't always easy. And the toughness didn't just come from convincing your parents, from convincing a community. It also came from your being an outsider. You arrive in Mumbai, you're from a completely non-filmy background. Our theme for today is to keep walking. That no matter what, you keep walking, no dream is too small and no dream is unachievable. I want to start pre-Bollywood, pre the film industry. The kitchen of Saleem's. What did it teach you? And I don't ask you that as a woman, I would ask your brother the same question.
Community, sharing whatever we had. I think that is something, and I've said this before, like, my father, I grew up in a Punjabi sort of milieu. We were the only Muslim family in Kalkaji where I was born, and then, in GK1, and Saleem's has been there now almost 50 years. Yeah. But my parents taught me this, that jab bhi koi ghar pe aaye, whatever you're having, even if it's like dry bread, you share it with that person. Do roti hai, to ek apne guest ko offer karo. And I think that ethos that our family has sort of seeped its way into Saleem's. I mean, you've seen the journey, right? Like, literally my father inherited a butcher shop from my grandfather because that's what he got. And he was the second eldest of like 8 brothers. And when he started Saleem's, he was about 16, 17 years old. And how today it's become an institution almost. So I know people who've been like, oh, we used to go there when it used to be this tiny, dingy
like
sort of
a khoka.
Like a khoka with like our cars, and the guy would come and serve us on plates on our bonnet of a car. And I'm like, actually I love that, and I'm so proud of that journey that my father's made, because again, this was not something he inherited. This is something he built brick by brick. I remember the day once, when you're new sort of a startup and you're sort of figuring out how to run a business, and like all the people working in his restaurant sort of, kind of had a mutiny. And my mother was telling us this story, and he would just sort of roll up his sleeves and go to the kitchen and start washing the dirty dishes himself.
Your father?
My father. Because he's like, no work is too small, and no work is beneath us if this is what we do. And I think those are things I've learned from my father's kitchen. The fact that whatever you have, share it with love, with respect, and no work and nothing is beneath you. If this is your baby, then you give it your heart, blood and soul. And I try and, use that in my profession as well, because that's what I've seen growing up in my family.
When your brother followed you to the world of movies, did your parents just want to hang you from the nearest lamppost? कि इसने ये क्या शुरू किया है परिवार में?
100%. They were like, ये तो तू बहन तो चली गई, अब तुम इसको भी बिगाड़ रहे हो. अब मैं क्या करूँ? I'm the one supposed to break that. क्या बोलते हैं उसको अंग्रेजी में? क्या generational trauma or whatever it is, the problem child. I don't know. But I think it was just meant to be. Now when I look back, right? I think we were just meant to be in this profession. I don't know, it sounds very surreal if I told my 18-year-old or 16-year-old self that this is where I would be sitting and having this conversation. I'd be like, please. But I think it was just that bullishness and that no sort of parachutes or no sort of plan B. Ki ab yahi karna hai, and then we'll figure it out. Like today also, like, I mean, our journey, Saqib and my journey as like producers. We're first generation producers. Do we know everything? Hell no. Some days we go like, that movie, have you guys seen War Dogs?
Yeah.
Where you're sort of like figuring it out and like
winging it as
you go along. And sometimes you feel like, are we really doing that? Or we really know what, but you figure it out and you make mistakes. And I think the one thing I got over, and I know Saqib also got over pretty fast, is just to get over failure. just get over failure super fast and to pick yourself up, because you will fail. If you try something new, you will fail repeatedly. But I think it's not about the act of failing, it's what you do after that. How soon do you pick yourself up and how soon do you brush it off and be like, okay, I'm going to try again. वो बोलते हैं ना कि फ्लाइट तो सबकी डिले होती है, उसके बाद आप कस्टमर को कैसे ट्रीट करते हो, then people sort of decide they want to come back and
you've spoken about failure, and I think that's such an important part of anybody's journey. And while I ask you more about it, I would love to hear from any of you who are ready to share with us your moment of personal failure and how you got out from that and decided to get up and keep walking. So let me ask you, as the audience maybe thinks about it, for you, from that moment you arrive here in Mumbai, from not knowing कि शुरू कहाँ करना है, right? Was it like in the movies कि एक suitcase लेके आप पहुँच गए PG apartment में? ऐसा ही था?
थोड़ा सा, मतलब ऐसे भी नहीं था, क्योंकि जैसे मुझे पापा ने बोला कि ठीक है तुम कल चले जाओ और now you do this for a year, I immediately booked a ticket and I called my friend Sachi Manyar, and I was like, okay, I'm coming, I'm going to stay at your place for like a week and I'm going to figure out what needs to happen. And she had a lovely bedroom and then she had a little balcony that was covered. So I said, मैं तो यहीं सो जाऊंगी. So literally I had a makeshift room. So that little cute balcony was my first room in Mumbai. It was very pretty actually. It was not dingy or depressing or dark at all. In my head, it was very, very romantic almost. Of course, I stayed there for a month and then I shifted into an all-girls PG, which was also very interesting because I had never done that. And when I moved into my first house, all my friends were super concerned. How are you going to do this, right? Because they feel like, oh, will you be scared? And, will you be like concerned? Should we be there? Do you want someone to stay back? I said, no. I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. Because I went and bought like a sasta sa mattress. And I bought like a big bottle of water. And I said, okay, this is my first home. And jharu, of course, because you had to like do it yourself.
Would you do your own jharu poncha?
Now I don't do it.
No, not now. That's okay. But उस time खुद करते थे?
किया है मैंने, but बहुत जल्दी I think मतलब in India we are really fortunate that we get a lot of help. Yeah.
So what was your biggest moment, or what has been a moment of failure that almost broke you, but then you said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get up. I'm going to walk again. I'm going to keep moving.
यार बहुत सारे होते हैं.
But एक कुछ होते हैं that stay with you.
I think your early days when you don't know if the career you've chosen for yourself is going to really plan out or pan out the way you want to. A lot of rejections, a lot of like times I've been thrown out of movies, and I discover it from the papers. Nobody even has the courtesy to call you and say, okay, maybe you've not made it.
And why were you thrown out?
Difficult to say. No one really tells you the honest truth. So people just sort of blame each other. But it happens. Again, I think I don't like to delve on the fact that why it happened. I just go like, okay, what do I do now? See, my logic is very simple. If you don't want to work with me, if you don't want to speak to me, if you don't want to interact with me, I can't force you. But I have to then find another human who will decide to collaborate with me. And that's the way. And I quickly move on. Because I don't want to waste my time in convincing someone when you don't see a value add. It's a creative process, right? Even if I like arm wrestle my way into like landing a project, it's a very long journey to make something happen. And I want to go to rooms and, work with people where I feel welcome. And I feel I can do my best.
How stereotypical has it been? The expectation of a female body to even now look a certain way, and what does that do to a woman's sense of confidence? And I ask this not only of actors. I think we live in a social media saturated age. We live in an age where our Instagram filters take away our wrinkles, they take away our pigmentation. We all reach for it to make ourselves look better. And you kind of like feel cringe when you're doing it, but then you're doing it because that's the culture that you're being shaped and formed by. I want to ask you, how much of a struggle has it been? Because I know literally every woman has had a moment of insecurity about how we look. Have you had that?
My whole life. I think that's what people do to you, right? They make you feel insecure about your skin color, your height, your weight, your hair texture. It could be anything. And I feel like it's just never ending, which is why I guess a lot of people today, I mean, and especially today in the age of social media, it's so prevalent where, you know, you're only seeing perfect bodies and perfect faces and like skin that does not even look like skin. Like nobody has skin like that, guys.
Yeah.
Like literally, like sometimes I joke with my team after they've been working on me for like an hour and be like, oh yeah, I just woke up like this. And they're like, yeah, right. हम सुबह 7 बजे से यहाँ पे लगे हुए हैं. तो ऐसा कोई भी दिखता नहीं है. And I feel it's a really unhealthy standard that we're setting for people. And I've spoken about it before. I think you and I had a chat about when you asked me, I think on camera, whether I would ever undergo like a procedure. And I was very candid. I said, I don't know. Because today I feel super confident saying, no, I think I want to age beautifully and I want to age gracefully. And also the kind of parts that I play, I would hate to do a shot on my face not to move on camera. You know, that's my biggest fear. Of course, I want to always look beautiful and vibrant and whatever. But at the same time, as an actor, my biggest fear is what if I'm feeling an emotion, but it's not, my face is not able to move.
Like the face is so Botox that it's
that you
frozen.
can't move, right?
Yeah. So would you? I mean,
I don't think so.
Since
I don't think
last
so.
asked you that question, it's been a couple of years.
But the reason why I say that, that I don't know is because I want to also put the responsibility on you and on everybody else saying stop doing this to women and to each other. Like stop making us feel, which is why I say this.
We can have a round of applause for that, for sure. Yeah.
Stop doing it to us because you make us feel whenever there's a comment on a picture or a film or something where as if you're always supposed to look like only like the 17-year-old airbrush version of ourselves. Because even at 17 we didn't have great skin. Let's be honest. I mean, I didn't for sure.
What's the cruelest thing you've read about yourself? And are you able to ignore trolls?
My second film, a reviewer said I was 5 kgs too heavy to be a mainstream heroine. I thought that was really mean.
And also, like, would that be said about a guy?
Probably. I don't know. I think it's a very harsh industry. I think it's harsh for women and men. Yes, for men as well. For being overweight, for being, I don't know, there's so much like burden on men today to only be these machismo guys, you know, who'll save the world. And like suddenly, and if you look around, there's so many strong women in their real lives, their mothers, their wives, their sisters, their daughters. They just perhaps don't know how to navigate that. I feel like, which is why we need to just have representations of like kinder men and nicer men and men who are more in touch with their feminine side, but are still really macho and really we find them desirable. Like this whole stereotype also that women only like bad boys, I don't think that's entirely true.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just the same way that men also
notwithstand-
like bad girls.
Notwithstanding Wuthering Heights.
I mean, there are multiple examples, multiple examples. But I would just say that let's just, I don't know, just let's have representation that are more sort of diverse and not just so like, because there's a lot of burden, not just on women, but on men as well, to just be this one kind of guy. And I don't think that's really like fair.
I mean, I always say that if women are the products of patriarchy, so are men. It's the same culture they're being shaped and formed by. I do have time to take a couple of questions for Huma. If you'd like to share your own story, your own, struggles with body shape, security, don't be shy. I'll start here. Can I request you to go to the mic, Shirali? Yeah, there's a mic there, please. And do introduce yourself and go ahead with your thoughts.
Like a singer.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
I love that jacket.
Yeah, the jacket is gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Shonali Shroff. And I think my whole life, I've had to deal with the trauma of being too healthy, as they say in Punjabi families, always on the chubbier side of things. And I saw my mother struggle with it too. Today, I think that I may not have survived the times we live in today because it's taken me very long to get comfortable with my size and my height because, I had my best friend's father used to say, I feel very secure when you're around my daughters because I feel beam is with them. Okay. Because when you're tall and you're built a certain way, then you're beam. So I've had to grow up with all of that.
And does that amuse you, make you feel really angry?
Today it amuses me because I'm more confident in my own skin. But at that time, I felt horrible about myself.
You are gorgeous. Do you not agree with me, everyone?
Yes.
Come on,
we
beautiful.
Can hear that for Shonali and Huma. Yeah.
You're really beautiful.
Thank
I don't know why would somebody be so cruel to you. Like,
it's been a journey, so I didn't look very feminine. Also, this whole thing of what is feminine, right?
Yeah.
Today, people are afraid to be feminine because they think being feminine means, being soft means you're weak. You're not. They are two very different things. You can still be feminine and still be Barkha. Okay, so, right. So one is that. Secondly, as a mother of young girls, and I spend a lot of time around young girls today, you know that on TikTok and on Instagram, there's a slang for anorexia and for bulimia called Anna and Minya or something like that. Okay, so it's a trend. It's an international trend, and I really think what Huma just said, we all need to really embrace ourselves with all our imperfections, though it's going to be a big struggle because what this generation is facing is unprecedented.
You know, when I was just coming in over here, I saw a little video that a friend of mine, Soha, just posted, where she spoke about how a lot of countries today are actually banning underage kids
from
using social media.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree with her more. I think it's so important, and I do know that our country is also like thinking about it. I cannot stress that enough. I grew up in a generation where we didn't have social media. You know, today I'm in a profession that is so heavily dependent on social media, whether it's promoting our films or for me
is
to
it
put
true that people get roles based on their Instagram followers?
That I have also heard. I've never been cast for my social media. I had to think about that. No, but no, it is true. I think a lot of people are looking at what number of followers you have, and although I think everyone can act and everybody should act, but just because you have a certain following on Instagram does not mean you're a good actor or can do a role really well. And I think that demarcation people just need to make in their head somewhere, or casting people need to understand that. But I do feel, to answer your question, like, or thoughts, I do feel the way to go is to actually like, you know, regulate it, where young people should not be allowed to just have access to so much stuff that is out there. It's just not healthy for them. Like I was thinking when I was younger, if supposing, small thing, like, you know, if a friend did invite me to like a birthday party and it was Friday, by the time I got to school on Monday, I would get to know, because kids would in school would be talking about it. Today, in real time, kids would be sitting on a Saturday, Sunday, have a whole weekend to mull over, why do people not love me? Am I not good enough? Are they really my friends? Then the whole pressure of like, just, you know, competitiveness, like, or kids today like trolling each other in like really nasty ways. Like, how do we sort of protect that and make sure that they're not exposed to so much stuff which is possibly not good for them? You don't know today what your kids are sitting at home and watching.
I mean, that brilliant Netflix
Adolescence,
series, Adolescence, it really captures it in a chilling way. Huma, let me, in the end, just ask you, you're also an author. You created a girl character whom I think you present in this saturated sort of media age as somebody who can be herself. Ziba? Is that the character, Ziba? What would you say to all the Zibas out there?
Well, we all have a superhero or a superheroine in us. And just lean into that. And they come in all shapes and sizes. And they come in all forms. And even if you're like slightly jaggedy or badly behaved, you still can save the world.
And what does Huma Qureshi want to do next? Wow. If I'm having this conversation 3 years from now, which direction would you have walked in?
I have no idea.
Where do you want to go?
I just will say that I'll wander. But that does not mean I'm lost.
Oh, that's lovely. So, Huma, I want to start this day with our first honor, our first award for a woman of impact. And if you don't mind, I am going to present you this award. So this is from me.
Wait, I thought I had to present.
That's happening too. Can we please give it up for Huma Qureshi? And you know what? You all are being very polite. I want to hear more applause. Now it feels a bit better. And before I introduce our next woman of impact, I was mentioning in the opening that we've all been, I don't know, consumed by the images that we're seeing of war out of the Gulf countries. We all know somebody who lives there, somebody who works there, maybe our own relatives. And it reminds you what war is actually like. And therefore, today, I want to welcome on stage our next woman of impact. Women soldiers have been at the front line of our country. We saw it in Operation Sindoor. And I am delighted to welcome the next woman of impact, Major Swati If I can have her on stage, Shanta Kumar, Swati Shanta Kumar, that is such an honor to meet. It's an honor to meet. And before we let Huma go, I am going to actually request her to do the honors. So can I ask you to grab your mic? And I'm going to give you a mic.
Thank you.
And before you present the award, if there's just something you'd like to say, can you all hear me? Yeah. So Major Swati is the winner of a major UN award for actually creating gender inclusion in Sudan.
Yes, in South Sudan.
In South Sudan.
South Sudan. Yes.
So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I have led a team of 20 female soldiers. I had gone as part of an infantry battalion to the UN mission. We spent about 18 months there, and over there we conducted various operational patrols. And because of our activities in the region, we got recognized because we started conducting various gender-neutral patrols. We started including women and the men soldiers to go on patrols together. And that's why the UN recognized my team's efforts. And I think it's the recognition of Indian Army's efforts also.
Amazing. We'll be talking to Swati in just a moment. If I may ask you to do the honors and present.
This is my honor.
Would you like to say something about our women soldiers? They've had to fight so many barriers.
I just feel like so honored to see a woman in a uniform, because I feel all of us have that jazba where we also want to go out there and like protect our country. We cannot thank you enough for the service you've done and how you are inspiring all of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Would you like to say something to Huma?
It's really an honor being here because I know that I do not represent just myself, but my entire team and every women soldier out there. So I'm hoping that young girls also come and join us.
May I ask you to do the honors?
आपके राइट्स के कुछ बात कर सकते हैं? आपके लाइफ के राइट्स पे अगर पिक्चर बनानी हो क्या? What is the procedure to get your rights? But my honor, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
May I ask you to present the award to Major Swati Shantakumar? Can we have a big, big, big round of applause for these two wonderful women? These are two very, very different worlds, united, in my opinion. If I can have the music down, please. United, I can't hear my own thoughts. If you could have the music down. I just wanted to say these two amazing women come from two very, very different professions, but they're united by the fact that they had one thing in common, that they were not scared to dream. Huma, I'm going to thank you. And
Thank you
please
so much.
don't forget to take your award. There it is. Yes.
Thank you so much, Barkha.
Thank you,
You are a trailblazer. I cannot tell you, when I was a little girl and I used to watch you doing the news, how proud we all were. And I used to live in GK, and it was literally a stone throw away from where you would be. So thank you so much for inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Let's show Huma Qureshi some love. Thank you.